welcome back to Education Closet On Demand, the place to be for arts integration and STEAM professional development. I am your host, Susan Riley. I'm also the founder of Education Closet and an arts integration specialist. And today we're going to be talking about how to extend a strategy to make it work for your grade level. Because here's what we hear all the time. That's a great elementary school strategy. What do you have for me? I teach high school. So here's the thing about strategies. Strategies can be utilized at any grade level. That's the beauty of them, is that they're really not isolated to one grade level, although sometimes they get a bad rap, that they're kind of meant, so to speak, for one grade level over another. That's not really true. A great strategy can be used at any grade level. It's just a matter of knowing how to take that and extend it for your group of students so that it's meaningful to them. So today I'm going to give you an example of how to do that so that you can see how easy this is. So we're going to start with the strategy of the improvisation frame. And in today's video notes on the blog, you're going to be able to see what the improvisation frame is, how to go through it, and we'll have a link for that. And you'll also be able to see how I break this down. So you'll have a downloadable that you can use. Go ahead, go over to Ed Closet, look at today's post, and you'll find all of that information for you. So in the improvisation frame, this is a music strategy that we use, although you could use it in a variety of different art forms. I find that it works really well for music. And the reason I do is because I actually created this out of my own insecurity about improvisation as a musician. I am one of those musicians that really likes the structure of music on a page, and the idea of creating something on the fly kind of terrified me. And so as a music teacher, I actually wasn't teaching improvisation as much as I probably should have because of my own fear. In order to be able to get over that and to provide my students with a way that they could be successful at improvisation, I created this strategy. And essentially what you do is that you have students get into a square rather than a circle, a square, because you want 4 sides. Now, you could do a triangle, you could do polygon, whatever you'd like, but it needs to have sides. It can't be circular in nature. Each side is then assigned a rhythm. So in the basic improvisation frame, if I have a square, one side gets to perform the quarter notes. The second side gets to perform eighth notes. The third side gets to perform 16th notes. And the fourth side gets to present rests. So here's how that would work. If I pointed to one side, they would clap quarter notes or eighth notes or 16th notes, or we have rests. So students would actually beat count the rests out. Now to add some variety, I actually had students change up how they performed their rhythms. So once everybody got comfortable with their rhythms, then side 1 might clap the quarter notes, side 2 might pat the eighth notes, side 3 might stomp the 16th notes, which is always fun, and side 4 will still perform the rests. Now, once they get the hang of that, then you choose a student to come into the center. And of course, you would always model this first. But you'd have a student come into the center, and they are allowed to mix and match from any of the sides. They get to play around with it in the center until they're comfortable. And while they're doing that, everybody on each side is still performing their rhythm. So once they play around, and because everybody else is performing, nobody is really hearing what they're practicing. So it gives a level of comfort. And then once they're comfortable with their sentence, with their improvisation sentence, they perform it for the group on an instrument that is provided in the center of the square. That's the basic improvisation frame. And of course, then you would rotate students in and out. There's a couple of things that I like about this strategy. One is that it does provide that comfort zone for improvisation and for creating on the fly, which is something that students really struggle with because they always want to give us what they think we want when they're creating, no matter what art form it is. So this really puts the ball back in their court, but provides them with a bit of a frame to work within, because otherwise the choices just become too overwhelming. Now, the way you can extend this kind of a strategy, obviously this sounds like, if you're a music teacher, you're listening to this, I know you're pegging this as a grade 3 to 5 strategy. That you wouldn't use it necessarily in middle school or high school, or even with the little kids. So the youngest ones, pre-K to 2. So obviously we're pegging this already. Now, what I want you to do though is start to get your mind really working on, how would I modify that to work with my students? Now, if you're an arts educator, you could be thinking about, okay, instead of maybe music notes, maybe I want to think about the various types of elements in art that I could have them play with and then create something special using just the elements that we have outlined in their frame. We could do the same thing with dance or with theater, and it would still have the same result. If you're a classroom teacher, I want you to start thinking right now about, okay, how would I use that improvisation frame as a way to prompt my lesson? And here's what that looks like. So in grades K to 2, and this is just a suggestion, it's just to get you started. In that improvisation frame, rather than using the rhythms, you might want to use loud, soft, smooth, and short, so that they're playing with different kinds of expression. So it doesn't have to be music notes. It could be something that they're working on as a foundational piece, like those elements of music. Those are really important. And if I wanted to extend that into the classroom, I'd have my students do the improvisation frame, as we said, as a prompt, and have them experiment with loud and soft and smooth and short and create a piece, a sentence out of that. And then I might string the sentences together from 4 or 5 of my students to create a short story. And then we might add words. What are we expressing here? What's the first sentence? What does that translate into a traditional story? And so then we can really kind of play with creating a story using musical expression. Sometimes students in the youngest grades have difficulty looking at, how do I create a whole new story that makes sense from beginning to end? They either ramble or they really struggle to come up with a good idea. So this could help with that. If I were looking in grades 3 through 5, I would use the example that I gave at the beginning. So quarter eighth notes and rests and 16th notes to get started there. How I might translate that into the classroom for grades 3 through 5 is to actually create fraction sentences. So using those note values. So here I am performing fractions, which is essentially what you're doing with rhythms in music. You're performing 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, and then crafting those together to equal a certain number. So maybe the person in the center has to come up with a way to get to the number 2 using just the note values that are provided on each side of the square. In grades 6 through 8, we can modify this strategy by using syncopated rhythms. So suddenly we're getting into more complex rhythm structures. We've got something like that, it really requires a lot of effort to think about, how am I breaking down those note values into something that makes sense and that doesn't overwhelm someone. So for that, in the classroom, I would take a look at investigating how to write with plot development in mind. So we're moving our students in the middle grades to out of basic writing, out of basic craft, into figuring out, okay, who are these characters? How do I develop them into rich characters that really thread together throughout a narrative piece? I could totally work that in with syncopated rhythms because it is a more complex rhythmic structure. So again, taking that same example of crafting a story, but applying it at the middle school level instead. And finally, in grades 9 through 12, I would use all of the expression elements that I have available to me. So I would be using expression, I might be using rhythms, I might be using melodic contour as a part of that frame. And then utilizing that to explore the design process and connect to project-based units of inquiry. So really taking a look at how are things designed, how are they crafted, what elements are they using, and how do I layer them together in a way that creates something new that also solves a problem that I'm facing. So same strategy, but very different uses in a way that makes sense for each of our grade levels. Now, the final piece of this puzzle is coming up in next week's episode, because it's one thing to have a great strategy and then be able to use it with our students. It's a totally different thing to take that strategy and use it authentically in a lesson. Because remember, arts integration is a ladder. You start with your strategies and then you take the next step to your lesson design, your assessments, and moving from there. So stay tuned for next week's episodes. In the meantime, I'd love to hear from you. What are some questions that you have about this strategy? What are some questions that you have about possibly extending to different grade levels? I'd be happy to answer anything that you have a question about, or if you have something that you'd love to share that works great for your classroom. We can all learn from each other. Until next time, I am Susan Riley, your host, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Education Closet on Demand.